And finally, behind us, the focus shifts to the fallout from delayed economic data and an October jobs report we may never see to renewed rate cut uncertainty. How are the markets pricing it in? Joining me now, PIMCO Head of U.S. Policy, Libby Cantrill. Libby, thanks for coming by.
Thanks so much for having me.
Great to see you again. So what do you think? Is there lasting fallout here?
Yeah, so this, of course, was the longest government shutdown in history, and that's something for Congress really to be proud about. And we do think that there's sort of two longer-lasting impacts. One is just around the data desert, and this will make the Fed's decision in December very difficult. It looks like we may not have the September jobs report until right before Thanksgiving. So that means that the Fed will be going in really blind without the October jobs report, without likely the CPI as well. I think we were sort of 50-50 in terms of a Fed cut in December. Without data, that could actually, those odds of no Fed cut actually increase. And then the second, of course, is just around the economic implications. So lack of consumption, lack of growth, some headwinds to employment. All of those things we think could be a little bit stickier this time around. Federal employees will get paid back, but it looks like that payback will actually be delayed. So sort of bottom line here is that most of these effects will be transitory, but it will make for a kind of what we thought was going to be more of a slower growth quarter, maybe even that much more. Wow.
And Fed Chairman Powell called it driving in the fog.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So we had an election a week ago Tuesday. To me, the most interesting things might have been the New Jersey and the Virginia sort of big wins for centrist Democrats. All the headlines, of course, were about Mondami. What's the takeaway for investors?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of implications. One is that voters have itchy feet. They don't really feel comfortable with united control of government. This was the case when Democrats controlled Washington. I think it's now the case with Republicans. So you saw a little bit of a protest vote in those off-cycle elections. So that's one. That could be a preview for the midterms, of course, in November. The second one is that this sort of the search for the soul of the Democratic Party, if you will, between Zohran Mamdani and these more centrist Democrats. And then the third is just the read-through to the midterms, as I just alluded to, and what that means, particularly for House control. Recall that Republicans control the House by 3 votes right now. History would suggest that the party out of power typically wins 26 votes, 26 seats. So we'll see. Again, if past is prologue, the Republicans might be vulnerable in the House, but of course, as we know, the midterms aren't for a year, and a year's an eternity, and kind of the political
especially
cycle.
Right now. Yeah.
Exactly.
2 Supreme Court cases really interesting right now. Let's start with the tariffs. Even those justices who've been quite deferential, frankly, to Trump were asking tough questions. The markets are now pricing in that he loses that case. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it means quite a bit, and it could be a market event. Of course, around half of the tariffs have been imposed under what's called IEEPA, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, kind of a mouthful. And as you said, the Supreme Court looks like it may find that President Trump was in violation of using this statute to impose these tariffs. What does that mean? That means about half of the tariffs would roll back. Also, it could mean that the Treasury would have to pay back some of the revenue that they have actually collected associated with this tariffs.
Complicated.
It could be a market event in that deficits may be part of the focus once again. We've seen some steepening of the yield curve as investors have gotten concerned about deficits. We've seen a little bit of flattening recently. We could sort of see that steepening go back. So I do think this is something for investors to monitor. One important thing, though, Jack, is that the president and executive branch has a lot of authority around tariffs. So even if IEEPA is found that he cannot, impose tariffs under that statute, and there are lots of other tools, Section 301, Section 232. So there are lots of ways that he can still advance his trade policy agenda, even if the Supreme Court finds it in violation of him.
2 quick questions. Gerrymandering, Texas moves, California responds, so it's a wash, but there's this voting rights case that could change things a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is the thing. This is like the real story, honestly. Outside of the IEEPA case in front of the Supreme Court, this is something that people should be monitoring. In that, if the Voting Rights Act is found to be basically in violation, that it's no longer sort of standing, no longer kind of consistent with precedent, we could see pretty significant redistricting in the South. South. And what does that mean for investors? It means that structural growth for the Republicans, meaning that they can win more House seats. That means that you could see Republican House control, maybe not in 2026, but sort of for,
longer term,
for cycles to come.
All right. 20 seconds left. You are going to sleep outside in Times Square next week. Why are you doing that, Libby?
Yeah, so we are doing it on behalf of Covenant House, which is the largest youth shelter here in New York City. And not only provides emergency shelter, but also provides work training, workforce requirements and what have you, and also a GED training, parental support. So this is a really important nonprofit that I'm very happy to support. And so we're sleeping out. We're giving up our beds for one night.
Raising a lot of money for it.
We're raising a lot of money for it.
Good for you. Libby
Cantrill,
Cantrill, thanks so much.